2008 AC Reynolds Rockets, a perfect 6-0, Northwestern 4A champs yet again, 11-2 overall. Another great season for the Rockets. And it all began with the game at Asheville High, first game of the season. Rudy Cabral and Paul Wright hooking up on this 18-yard scoring strike, made it 7-0 in the second quarter. And then on the next possession, John Thomas coming up with a big play on special teams, taking his block punt in from 20 yards out, made it 14-0. Tim Council adds a 25-yard field goal to build a 17-0 lead and hold on to beat the Cougars 17-10. Paul Wright ran for 38 yards. Kyron Gibson added 28. Wright also 10 of 12 passing for 98 yards and that one touchdown. Cabral had 3 catches for 44 yards. Defense led by John Thomas and Rudy with 10 tackles each. Off to a 1-0 start. Up next, a home tussle with the Owen Warhorses, and it was all Rockets in this one as you post your first shutout of the year. Brandon Knox in the first quarter gets it started with a 60-yard touchdown run. Later on, Wright hooks up with Kyle Payne from 17 yards out, makes it 13-0. And then here comes Mr. Knox again, touchdown number 2. This one going for 46 yards, makes it 20-0 Rockets. Kyle Payne adds a 43-yard touchdown run in the third quarter. The route is on. It's 27-0 at that time. But Mr. Knox is not done yet, scoring from 20 yards out. Big night for Brandon. 4 carries, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Kyron Gibson also ran for 112 yards. Carson Gratton added 62 yards rushing. Wright went 14 of 20 for 136 yards and that 1 touchdown. Payne with 6 grabs for 60 yards. Rudy had 4 catches for 62 yards. Brother Tony Cabral led the defense with 11 tackles. Defense played great all night long, limiting Owen to only 42 rushing yards and 12 passing yards. Yes, 54 yards of total offense. 34-0. Rockets are 2-0. Up next, a battle at home with T.C. Robertson, and after falling behind 7-0, Paul Wright gets you in the scoring column with this 18-yard scamper. Then defense coming up big. The intentional grounding in the end zone makes it 9-7 Rockets. Then Mr. Gibson takes over. He has a 1-yard scoring run. Then later on, a 57-yard pass from Caleb Presley puts you ahead 23-7. Gibson would add his 3rd touchdown on the night, another 1-yard run, as Kyron rushes for 166 yards in those 2 scores. Paul Wright with 56 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. Wright goes 8 of 12 for 90 yards. Presley 3 of 6 for 67 yards. Defense led by Jonathan Marbles. He had 13 tackles. Jacob Mao added 10. John Thomas also had 10. Defense impressive yet again as you win it 30-13 over Robertson. Up next, the lone loss of the regular season comes at Tuscola. But I tell you what, this is a great ball game. Demetric Taylor gets it started with his 80-yard scoring pass from Presley. You jump out to 7-0 lead. Presley later would add a 4-yard touchdown run to put you up 14-7 in the second quarter. Tuscola would win the game 17-14, but still you had some pretty good performances. Knox running for 134 yards. Presley adding 61 yards rushing. Presley also passes for 142 yards and that 1 touchdown. Taylor with 2 grabs for 126 yards. Rudy Cabral was everywhere with 14 tackles. John Thomas had 13. Mao had 11. Marbles had 10. Tyler McIntyre also had 10. Once again, the lone loss of the regular season comes at Tuscola. A shootout the following week in the conference opener as East Burke comes to town. This one went back and forth all night long. 42-41 would end up being the final score in double overtime. But some big performances on the night as Caleb Presley scores twice. Demetric Taylor with 1 rush for 13 yards and a score. Rudy Cabral also had a touchdown run. Presley passed for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns. 1 touchdown pass to Rudy Cabral. Another one to Demetric Taylor. Taylor went 42 yards for the score. It was a crazy, crazy way to start the Northwestern 4A. Defense was led by the Cabral brothers with 17 tackles for Rudy, 14 for Tony. Once again, 42-41, a wild one at home against East Burke. The following week, things get back to normal at Alexander Central as defense dominating this one as they just shut down Alexander Central, only 149 total yards of offense. A really balanced attack from the defense all night long. Offense was led by Gibson. He rushed for 92 yards. Paul Wright threw for 229 yards and a score. Rudy Cabral had 4 catches for 73 yards. Jeffrey Pagan with 6 catches for 68 yards. Blaylock had 4 catches. Taylor had 3. Gibson with 2. Once again, a total team effort, 31-7. Reynolds is 2-0 in the conference with a big win at Alexander Central. Defense putting up another goose egg the following week at Freedom. allowing the Patriots only 52 yards of total offense. Holy cow. Gibson leading the way on offense, 154 yards rushing. Grattan adds 44 and a score. Rudy Cabral also had a touchdown run in this one, while Paul Wright goes 8 of 20 for 106 yards. The defense coming up big as well. We had a block punt for a safety. He also had a team safety in this one. Tim Council booted a couple of field goals. 24-0. Reynolds all over Freedom. Following week, a trip to McDowell, and the Titans, well, they didn't put up much of a fight, as Reynolds all over this one as well, as they only allowed 173 yards of total offense to the Titans. Rudy Cabral got the scoring going with his 13-yard touchdown run. Paul Wright also had a couple of touchdown runs. Gibson running for 75 yards and a score. Caleb Presley with 47 yards rushing and a touchdown. Wright with those 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 31 yards on the ground. He also threw a touchdown pass to Jeffrey Pagan. Wright almost perfect. 14 of 15 for 201 yards. Dennis Searcy had 5 catches for 59 yards. Demetric Taylor, 3 for 57. Pagan had 3 grabs for 22 yards. Blaylock had 2 for 30 yards. Defense, once again, led by the Cabral brothers, as they had a couple of tackles for loss. 7 total tackles for Rudy, 6 for Tony. All Reynolds in this one, 41-9 over McDowell. South Caldwell comes to town the following week, and I tell you what, that defense continued their domination. Once again, less than 100 yards of total offense. South Caldwell only can muster up 83 yards of offense, as the defense just dominated in this one. Jared Payton led the way with 8 tackles. Durant had 7, Mao with 7, Thomas with 7. I tell you what, this defense playing some great football. Offense led by another good performance by Paul Wright, 14 of 16 for 146 yards. Brandon Knox with 2 rushing touchdowns and 61 yards on the ground. Gibson had 54 yards rushing. Wright had 34 and a touchdown. Rudy Cabral scored another touchdown. Council kicked a field goal. Also, Caleb Presley went 3 for 3 for 58 yards and a 31-yard scoring strike to Patrick Blaylock. Yet another shutout for this great defense. 37-0 Reynolds over South Caldwell. Watauga comes to town next, and the Goose Eggs are wild yet again. Yet another shutout for this defense. Only 139 yards of total offense allowed to Watauga. The Cabral brothers each leading the way with 8 tackles. John Thomas also had 8 tackles. Jeremy Filson scoring a touchdown on this 35-yard interception return for a score. Jacob Mao also had an interception taken back for a touchdown. This one from 28 yards out. Another good night for the quarterbacks as Paul Wright, 9 of 14, 140 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2 of those strikes to Taylor, 1 for 22 yards, the other for 44 yards. He also threw a touchdown pass to Rudy Cabral from 13 yards out. Gibson runs for 76 yards and a score. Presley had 66 yards rushing and a score. Grattan with 57 yards rushing as well. Rudy Cabral, 3 grabs for 37 yards. Taylor with those 2 catches for 66 yards. All Reynolds yet again, 49-0 over Watauga as you finish the regular season, a perfect 6-0 in the Northwestern 4A. Playoffs are up next, and really for a quarter and a half, not much happened in an opening round game against North Davidson. But that's when Rudy Cabral got things going. On this 4th and short, he rumbles right up the gut, 45 yards for the score, puts you up 6-0. Then Mr. Gibson took over. Big night for him, 156 yards rushing on 20 carries, 2 touchdowns, 1 from 17 yards, the other from 21 yards. Paul Wright, only 5 of 14 for 22 yards passing. Cabral had 2 catches for 20 yards. Cabral also ran at one time for 45 yards. Brandon Knox adding 50 yards on the ground. The defense, well, they got after it yet again. John Thomas with 12 tackles, Peyton with 8, Marbles with 8, as they held North Davidson to only 163 yards of total offense. Another shutout, 21-0 your final. Well, a battle of Reynolds coming up next. RJ at AC. And RJ would jump on y'all 9-0 in the second quarter, but that's when the defense, a big interception, sparks things. Tim Council kicks a field goal to cut the lead to 9-3. Then here comes the special teams again as Mao with the block punt return takes it back in from 9 yards out, puts Reynolds up 10-9 at the half. And Kyron Gibson gets the running going in the second half, scoring from 7 yards out. He ran for 71 yards. Wright only completed 1 pass for 32 yards, but the defense playing very special yet again, as they had 13 tackles by Jacob Mao, 11 by Cabral, 10 by Peyton, 10 by Tony Cabral, 10 by Jonathan Marbles. It was a dogfight all night long, but AC getting the best of RJ 16-9. We move into the third round. And unfortunately, South Mecklenburg went in the season at Reynolds in that third round of the playoffs, but still a pretty good night for Kyron Gibson. He ran for 147 yards, 84 on this long touchdown run that put you up 7-3 in the second quarter. Wright passed for 97 yards as Taylor had one catch for 51, Pagan had one for 31, Gibson had one for 15. Rudy Cabral all over the place, 18 tackles on the night, 12 for Thomas, 10 for Tony Cabral. Once again, the season ends with a heartbreaker, 10-7 South Meck over AC Reynolds. But yet again, a great year. Your final year to Northwestern 4A, yet another title. You guys dominated that league, really since day one that you stepped in the league. 11-2 overall, got nothing to be ashamed of. A great season. Now let's take a look at some of the stats for the 2008 Reynolds Rockets.